Welcome to our 157th weekly webcast. I can't believe it, but we're now in our fourth year of doing these weekly webcasts. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. And if you've been with us before on previous webcasts, welcome back. Now, I'm going to be taking questions for almost the entire call today. So please ask me anything you want to so I can humbly help you take your career to the next level, or I can help you hopefully become a better investor. I'm here for you always. Now, if you're getting value out of this weekly call, please like and subscribe, and thank you as always. So I've got two things that I want to quickly give away for free, of course, to everybody on this call. And then what I'll do is I'll take your questions. The first thing I want to talk about is how to be a better investor. And number two, how to be more successful with your startup. So let's kick it off with how to become a better investor. New investors know that getting started is the hardest part. You're maybe scared of making a mistake, or maybe you're fearful you might be getting in at the wrong time and losing money just as you're trying to get started. And what's worse is the FOMO stress. And FOMO, we know, stands for fear of missing out, which is really a recipe for disaster. And we all know the benefits of compound interest. We know that cash is trash. And we know the sooner you can get started generating significant returns, the better off your future will be. Now, what I've done is I made a workbook for you that you can all download now for free, of course, in order to become a better investor. So what I want to do is I want to go there with you together. So what you do is you go to my website, which is harounventures.com / and then you type in better investor. Here we go. Whoops. Better investor. It worked yesterday, I promise you. No, it's invest better. Dude, the older I get, the better I was. Let me start again. So let's go to my website together, and we'll go to harounventures.com and we'll type in invest better, all lowercase. Okay, here we go. Yeah. And in this workbook here that you can download, I actually explain 8 tips on picking a stock. So again, you can download this from harounventures.com / invest better. That's invest better, all lowercase. Now, here are 3 mistakes that I see many investors making over and over again. Number 1, they don't do their own research. Now, while this might not be a problem for you if you use my research method, too often I see new investors fall prey to hope. And what happens is they try to get in on a trendy investment only to realize that it's already too late. And I always try to teach my students about incremental investing. So you can always ask yourself this: are you now buying what everybody else is already buying? If you are, you're not going to make a profit. You got to think differently, as Steve Jobs said, God bless him. And Wayne Gretzky, who's my hero, I'm Canadian, of course, as y'all know, he was very successful, not because he skated to where the puck is, but rather because he skated to where the puck is going to be. And so using that analogy, we have to buy stocks that investors are going to like. And by the way, this is one of the props for my options course, coming out very soon, my complete options course. But you've got to be offensive with options, meaning you can buy calls. And when you buy options, you can also be very defensive as well. Might as well show you my other prop here. This is a goalie, right? You can buy puts, you can be defensive as well. So my complete options course is coming out very soon. I hope you all love it. But you got to be a contrarian in business with stocks in order to make a lot of money. Because as Warren Buffett said, you need to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. Do the opposite. Now, the second mistake I see many investors make is they sell too soon. And I encourage my students to think about what the value of the company is going to be in 5 or even 10 years. And as a result of thinking this way, you need to be ready to buy and hold stocks for the long term in order to realize solid growth. Also, you pay much less in taxes if you own stocks for a long period of time. Now, of course, we buy stocks after doing a lot of investment research, which is what that workbook you can download is all about. Now, the growth arc of many companies is not always smooth. as there's many external factors at play. But if you've done the research and you know your decision is sound, then you can ride out the tough times so your stocks achieve their true value over time. Now, the third mistake that many investors make is that they react emotionally to changes in the market. When new investors are getting started, what happens is they tend to become more emotional about the performance of their stocks. Very dangerous. And they allow their fear of loss or their ambition to earn returns quickly really impact their decision making. Now, during my time in the financial industry, I've noticed that the best decision makers remain really unemotional about their present conditions, and they remain confident in their long-term investments. You got to be really unemotional in business. And unfortunately, these mistakes will cause investors to lose faith, and more importantly, lose money in the long run. Now, by following the lessons I provide inside my 8 tips downloadable document at the website I just mentioned, you can avoid these mistakes and make better overall investment decisions. And it's a free and easy to follow approach to investment resources, so you'll be confident with your portfolio even when the market seems volatile and scary. And this process is what I personally used when I worked on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs, as well as when I worked in the hedge fund industry and venture capital industry. And in that workbook, I've also included a one-page research template and several examples of one-pagers I've actually written in the past when I worked in the hedge fund industry. And I humbly hope this is really helpful for you. Now, let me talk really quickly about the second free item that I'm giving to all my students today, and then I'll start taking your questions. Thank you. New entrepreneurs know that writing a business plan is one of the most challenging first steps in starting a business. And failing to plan is planning to fail. And one of the biggest reasons I urge new student entrepreneurs to create a business plan is so they can test and see if their business idea is truly viable. I don't want you spending a penny on anything until you write your business plan. And if I convince you to start your company, I've done my job. However, if I convince you not to start your company, I've also done my job. You all know I'm an optimist, but I want you to be ready. And failing to plan is planning to fail. Now, starting a company without a thorough business plan can cost a lot of extra money, heartache, and stress. It's hard. I've been there many times before. In fact, you may have to write 5 or even 10 business plans before you find an idea that's going to be an incredible success. Now, what I've done is I've created a 10-step workbook that you can download for free to help you get started in your business. And let me show you how to get it. So let's go together to, you go to harounventures.com. I'll show you here. And then once you're at harounventures.com, you type in / all lowercase, start your business. That's all lowercase, one word, harounventures.com / start your business. Okay. And the name of this workbook that you can download right now for free is 10 Essential Components for Long-Term Business Growth. Now, here are 3 mistakes that I see many entrepreneurs make over and over again. Number 1, is the business plan written completely from the entrepreneur's viewpoint without providing a comprehensive and accurate overview of the industry? And entrepreneurs really need to articulate also what differentiates them from the competition. The second of 3 mistakes I see entrepreneurs make with their business plans is they describe the underlying technology or the creativity of the products or service in glowing terms and at great length without a clear path for future revenue. And the business models often lack scale as a result of this. And the third and final and most important problem I see with business plans is that they do not include all of the appropriate financial documents to back up their case or validate their business. Also, entrepreneurs are usually way too positive with their numbers, which actually scares away investors if there's no proof with financial statements to back up their business model thesis. Now, unfortunately, these mistakes will cause investors and executives to lose faith in our business model, and they can significantly decrease the possibility of receiving funding. And I never want you to raise money from a bank. I want you to get money from high net worth investors, especially early on when you're raising money, because a high net worth investor can give you money pretty quickly after a couple meetings, and the sales cycle is quite short. You can then access venture capital firms later once your business model is sound. And I talk about that in much more detail in this downloadable free workbook you can get at harouneducation.com/startyourbusiness, all lowercase. I walk you through all the steps to creating the perfect business plan. And I want to humbly help you with market research, product development, financial planning, and so much more. And so please grab the free resource today, and thank you. All right, let's get to questions, folks. This is the fun part. All right, I hope you all had a great week. I'm working really hard on making this complete options course. It's coming out really, really soon, I promise you. It'll be out way before Black Friday. Okay. All right, let's do this. Fun. All right, the first question I've got is from Demian Valenzuela, who's one of my wonderful MBA students from originally from Mexico, but he lives in Barcelona with his wife and daughter. And so Demian wrote, "Sunny day here in Barcelona. It is a beautiful place, one of my favorite cities. I wish you a perfect morning. Likewise, brother. Would you please tell me your thoughts about the United States SEC finally approving a cryptocurrency ETF?" Yeah. So I think it's actually a positive thing, and I'll tell you why. I know there's a lot of volatility lately in cryptos for many reasons. But if big governments don't say negative things about cryptos, meaning they don't make them illegal, then the long-term trajectory is positive for cryptos, right? It's kind of a market signal. It doesn't mean that the United States isn't going to regulate the industry. I think they will eventually. And I think they have to a little bit, not too much. Because I've seen so many students contact me that have lost fortunes through cryptocurrency scams. Now, when you invest in an IPO, the government mandates that investment bankers and lawyers write a big investment offering memorandum, right? And that's called a prospectus. And you can download it from sec.gov for any company that's going public or has gone public. And the governments do this to protect investors, so they know that they're not getting scammed. Because by law, you have to list all material risks in an IPO S1 filing, which you can get at sec.gov. Now, there's really no regulation in cryptocurrencies right now. I think there should be some sort of loose regulations to the extent that if you want to invest in a cryptocurrency, the person that made it has to provide you with an official investment offering memorandum. It doesn't have to be as large as an IPO prospectus, but it should list some of the risks as well, because too many people are getting scammed in this market. Yeah. All right, next up, Demian wrote, have you been able to read The Prospect? What's your opinion? Many thanks and big hug. I've not read that one. I'm so sorry. The book I'm reading right now is actually, I'm listening to an Audible. It's about the future of how the world ends. It's got a catchy title. It's not that negative, but it talks about cybersecurity. And the name of that book is This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends. And it's about somebody that's done a lot of research on hacking, as well as the Russian government's involvement in certain hacking events in the Ukraine, etc. It's terrifying. And the problem is that we all have tons of these IoT or Internet of Things devices at our house. Not just ALEXA or SIRI, but we have our thermostats hooked up, etc. And so we're all vulnerable to getting hacked. So please make sure you have a firewall embedded within your Wi-Fi product at home, your router that is. But it's a great book. All right, next up, I've got a question from Ali. Hey, Ali, how are you? Good morning, mentor. Good morning, my wonderful student. You all inspire me so much. It's getting into the evening in Zambia currently. I'm looking forward to today's session. Cheers. Cheers to you as well. Thank you. Thank you. Vipul said, good morning, Chris. How are you? I'm always great. Thank you. And I hope you're doing well. Andrew Dupree, how are you? Andrew Dupree was my first student ever accepted into my MBA program back in 2019. Great guy. He's the opposite of me, meaning he's good looking and smart and all that stuff. But he's the opposite of me because I'm a Canadian living in America, and he's an American living in Canada. His son is, I think, the number one prospect now in Canada for basketball. It's pretty amazing. Great to see you, Andrew. Okay, next up I've got Pearl, who's another one of my MBA students, who wrote, "Hi Chris, good morning to you. It's 5 p.m. here in Lusaka, Zambia." Very cool. Maybe you know Ali as well. Yeah, and by the way, in the MBA degree program, there are plenty of opportunities to network. We use Slack, which is free, of course, so that all students can network with each other. We have a wonderful alumni network. And what I'm doing is an annual MBA graduation, as well as an annual alumni networking event for gold and platinum students. This December, I rented this amazing museum. If you're in the gold and platinum program, you'll get details from Christina Hong, who works with me. She's awesome. She's one of my students too, on that event this December. Yeah. All right, the Aquahood, how are you? The Aquahood is Michael. He's from the United Kingdom. Great guy. He actually grew up with Sacha Baron Cohen as well, and he told me some great stories about him. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're well. Next up, we got Amazing Science 360, who wrote, "Hi, Chris. I just want to ask you, how do I network with people? What is the first step for it?" Yeah. So I've got this book that I want to tell you about, and I don't mention it as much anymore because people complained I mention it too much. And so one data point doesn't make a trend, but I got a couple complaints. But if you want, what you can do is you can go to my website, which is harounventures.com. And if you scroll down, you'll find a book somewhere here. Here it is. Here. Yeah. And you can download this book. It's about 200 pages plus a couple hours of YouTube videos. And I teach you everything you need to know about networking based on my many years of mistakes and some successes, having raised and managed over $1 billion in my career, etc. And one of the big problems is people don't realize that, business is about relationships first and product knowledge second. You always got to bond before business. So please check out that book. It's free. I humbly think it'll help a lot. And thank you. And what you can also do, I've answered more than 10,000 questions live here on the air over the past couple of years on my weekly calls, as well as during MBA office hours. You can always go up here to the top of my website, harounventures.com, and just type up network. And what you'll find here is a ton of videos I wrote about how to get a job by networking, all that stuff, how to network using LinkedIn, etc. And also you can click here on the second tab. And if you're in my MBA degree program, you can click to jump immediately to where in the 300 to 400 hour program I talk about networking. And I'm adding a lot of new stuff. This year, of course, I'm adding a ton of stuff. And if you bought the MBA program in the past, you get all of this for free, what I'm about to say. You'll get all of my options stuff I'm adding to the course. And I'll send an email to let y'all know where I added it in the curriculum. It's an elective. Next year, in the first half, I'm adding a massive real estate component to it. And I'm also going to be adding something about negotiations because students have been asking me about that. The program is always going to be up to date as well. And so if there are topics you want me to cover that aren't in the program, let me know and I'll work hard for you and I'll add it. Okay. All right, next up, I've got Maz. Hey, Maz, how are you? I will come to graduation. Yes, awesome. And Maz and all other gold and platinum students in my MBA program, you'll get an email, if you haven't already, from Christina Hong. Okay, and she's going to provide all the details. She's amazing. She's one of my great students here in the platinum program here she's in South San Francisco. Yeah. And by the way, if you're curious about when I'm starting my next gold and platinum MBA program, if you go to my website and at the top here, and we're about to launch a new website, which is going to be dope. But if you go to About MBA Programs, and then you go to important dates, you'll find the date for the next gold and platinum class. Okay, so the graduation for gold and platinum this year in person, and which will be webcast, is locally, and I'll send you details through email. But if you want to start the gold and platinum program for next year, we start on January 10th. Okay, and I'll be holding a couple of webcasts to talk about that really, really soon. I'm just trying to get a couple of courses out first. All right, next up, the Game Report, who's Peyton Kalawahea, who's one of my amazing platinum students, who was interviewed on this webcast 2 weeks ago about NFTs and gaming. Says, what up? Man's legit. Thank you. God bless you, Peyton. I appreciate it. Everybody check out gamereport.io if you want to learn about how to make money by playing video games and NFTs and using blockchain at the same time. You inspire me, brother. Great to see you. And Andrew Dupree wrote, hello, Chris. The Haroun MBA is my best education decision. Thank you, buddy. God bless you. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to meeting with you at Tim Hortons again in Mississauga next time I'm in Toronto. Lots of love. Okay. And I hope that appointment you had a couple days ago went well for you, brother. All right. Next up, I got Paul Pinto, who wrote, Chris, what do you see the scope about degrees in human-computer interaction or user experience design? It took more than 100 years for the telephone to reach more than half the world, but the cell phone was within everyone within no time. Do you expect AR and VR to replace digital sooner than we think? Yeah. So when it comes to human interaction design and education, there's plenty of graphical user interface or GUI-based courses you can take online. And that's called front-end development. And it's my favorite side of programming. I've done a ton of front-end and back-end programming in my life. The most fun part about programming is the element of dragging and dropping controls, etc. I love visual programming. I think one of the reasons that Microsoft bought Mojang, which is the parent company of Minecraft, is because the younger generation uses Minecraft kind of like it's a software development kit that's visual. And they'll basically use if and then statements, turning on a switch to open a door, fire a pretend missile. And I think what's going to happen is the next generation of programming interfaces is going to be more visual, and it's also going to be AR based. And so Microsoft bought a product called HoloLens as well, which allows you to do 3D modeling, which is really cool. And so I think the next generation of programming languages is going to be based on AR. Okay, not so much VR, augmented reality, because with VR I get a little bit dizzy personally when I use it. I'm an old man. With AR, it is reality as well, because you can actually see stuff around you as you drag and drop components to paint a screen or make wireframe apps, for example. Now, there's other companies that have gotten into VR and AR as well, because we all know that the next platform that's going to be really, really big is something virtual, right? Probably AR based. And so Facebook bought Oculus years ago. It's actually a good product. Microsoft invested, as I mentioned, in HoloLens. Google bought a company in Florida called Magic Leap, which is amazing. And Sony just yesterday announced it was the 5th year anniversary of their VR product. And so all of those aforementioned 4 or 5 companies all know that longer term, the operating system platform that's going to be dominant is some sort of rendition of AR. And I'm playing around with it a lot, and you can do it as well. So you can use Unity and many other developing products which are free, or you can actually use Adobe Dimensions, which I use all the time with 3D modeling in my MBA degree program. Last thing I'll say about this is longer term, my vision for my MBA program is to make an augmented and virtual reality version of it as well, so that you can network with people all over the world when you take all the courses in my comprehensive MBA program. Thank you. Great question. Okay. Next up, Pearl. Hey, Pearl, how are you? Pearl wrote, I literally didn't know what FOMO meant. Thank you. No, I learned about it from my kids. FOMO means fear of missing out. And it's deadly when it comes to investing too, because if you're fearful of missing out and you chase a stock, it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. All right. All right, next up, Manas. How are you? Manas is one of my wonderful students from India. He's published many courses on Udemy, and he published a book using my book template, also called Bonds Before Business, which I have. It's great. So Manas wrote, good morning, my dear mentor. Hope all is well. Likewise, brother, I hope you're doing well. Looking good with the hair longer than usual, but the backdrop is looking quite dry and incomplete. I love your backdrop when you had big posters behind you. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. Yeah. And my hair, like this, it's kind of new for me, man. Like I noticed I was watching baseball games, and a lot of the players have short on the side and longer on the top. So this old man is trying to stay relevant. I don't know if it's working, but what I will do is I'll change the color in the background for you. Hopefully that helps out. Maybe I'll change it to something different. Let's go here to, how we tried this one here. No? Let's go back to, let me do white then. How's that? 1 second. All right, we'll stick with that. Yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, next up, thank you, Manas, for that. Appreciate it. Kumaresan wrote, Sir, call me Chris, please. Tell me your biggest failures, because Dr. APJ, meaning you wrote here, Abdul Kalam, said, don't read success stories. You will get only messages. Read failure stories to get some ideas to success. Yeah, that's a great point. So the most successful, dude, I'm going back to blue. I like the blue background. Here I go. Sorry, here I go. So the most successful, I love you though. The most successful people in business have failed over and over and over again. And what happens is when they release their biography, they talk about many of their failures. And so Michael Jordan, he had this famous quote saying he failed over and over again. That's why he's successful. He mentioned that he actually, it's interesting, he missed 26 shots and lost the game at the last second because of missing a shot. And speaking of the number 26, Abraham Lincoln failed in 26 elections before he eventually got elected to his first official position, right? So all these people have failed a million times. And if you read their biographies or autobiographies, what you can do is you can find out what their mistakes were and what they learned from them. So you don't have to make the same mistakes. You know, the same thing with Oprah Winfrey. She tried a gazillion times to get a job as a news anchor on talk shows, and nobody would hire her. She failed a lot. J.K. Rowling, who's a wonderful writer, also wrote, and my kids love her books, she tried 30 times to get her books published, but she was rejected over and over and over again. And she was frustrated, man. Like she hated her job. She was a single mother, poor thing, you know, and she was an assistant. But with that frustration came breakthrough. And the only reason these people are successful is because they failed millions of times. So just understand in business, you only have to be right one time. So if you want to learn how to be successful in business, I recommend going to audible.com. I'm not sponsored by anybody, nor will I ever be. I want to put my students first. Go to audible.com and you can download and listen to any biography or autobiography from successful people, and they will help you by telling you the recipe for success. A lot of it involves their many, many failures. In terms of my failures, I don't know if we have enough time today because I'll talk forever about my failures. My biggest failure was probably chasing money. And I was never happy. I would try to change jobs over and over and over again and careers, and I humbly did it successfully. But my happiest day was always the first day. And so my failure was this. I always tried to figure out how to get a job without thinking about why I want that job. The why has to involve something along the lines of you want to put your dent in the universe, you want to change society, or you want to do something you're passionate about. And speaking of backdrops and old quotes, I'll get this for you, Manas, even though I know you didn't answer this question. I used to have this in the backdrop a lot. Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life are number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. So you got to find your why, okay? And when you look for a new job, you got to ask yourself, why do I want this new job? If it's just because you're chasing money, it'll end poorly, because if you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a couple of times, then something wonderful happens. Your dreams come true, and the money follows accidentally. It always does. It always does. And before you start your companies on the side, please write a thorough business plan. And you all know I have an MBA program and many courses to humbly help you with that. Yeah. And I have as you know, a 30-day money-back guarantee on everything. You got nothing to lose, everything to gain. All right. Let me see here. But I do remember being really stressed out, like back in 2009, right just after the financial crisis. I was running my hedge fund, and it was going well. I was making money. I got some redemptions because of Madoff. His name is Madoff. We should have known. But Bernard Madoff, basically, he defrauded tons of people. Not me. But one of the people and entities he defrauded was, I remember it was ABN AMRO, which was, I think they had $5 or $6 million in my offshore hedge fund account in the British Virgin Islands. And they redeemed. And I'm like, dude, why'd you redeem? I had a great month. I'm doing well compared to everybody else. It was frustrating. And I remember what I did. And I'm glad it happened in hindsight because it guided me down a different path in life. And by the way, all your failures in life, I want you to look back upon them, if they're business failures, as learning lessons. And you'll never be successful without failing a bunch of times. But I remember it was back in 2009. We just had Dylan, my youngest child, who's 12 years old, going on 25 now because he's got older brothers. We just had Dylan, and I was stressed out. And I told Christine, my wife, I said, honey, I got to take a day off and just figure things out. I was really stressed. And by the way, if you're ever really stressed out, there's nothing wrong with taking a mental health day off at work. It's true. You don't just have to skip work because you're physically sick. Mentally, if you're not there, don't go to work. It'll cause more harm than good. And so what I did was I drove down the beautiful California coast. I went to Monterey. And I stayed one night there by myself in a hotel just to kind of get away from it all and figure it out. And I walked into this beautiful old Catholic church. This is not a religious thing, but just to collect my thoughts. And I sat down at the back. And I was writing down my goals like I always do. And the priest came up to me and he said, son, is everything okay? And I said, you're not my dad. No, I didn't say it. He said, is everything okay? And I said, I want to make sure that I make a ton of money so I can, give the best standard of living for my kids. And he said to me, my son, I said, I told you you're not my dad. I'm just kidding. He said to me, son, 50 years from now, your kids are going to look back upon you and they're not going to remember how much money you made. They're going to remember, were you there for them? And that kind of put it into perspective for me, instead of trying to chase money. And look, I know we all need some capital to live. I get it. But at some point, enough is enough, man. We got to start focusing on what we're passionate about and what our raison d'etre is. Why are we on this planet? What are we here for? We're here to make a difference. And so that really changed me. And it's tragic, but by the time your child is 12 years old, you've already spent 90% of the time you're ever going to spend with them. You can't get that time back. So the bottom line is, if you chase money, you lose money in your dreams. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a bunch of times, something wonderful happens. Your dreams come true, and the money follows accidentally. It always does, because it's actually happened for all these great entrepreneurs you hear about in the news. They failed many times, but you don't hear about the failures. But I promise you, they failed a lot. Okay. All right. Next up, question from Andrew is an option a short? Yeah. So basically, the way it works is this. Let me explain options from scratch to you guys. And I got some props here as well. Give me 1 second. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm gonna pull up some props here and just teach you a little bit about options. Okay. So the way that options work is options can be either, and this here is just a prop for the course coming out soon. Let me actually lower it a bit so you guys can see it. All right. So we're gonna make an option. Okay. So an option basically is it's like a health insurance contract. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create an option, and I'm going to explain it to you in such a way so that you'll never forget it. All right, let's have some fun with this. All right, cool. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. All right, so we're going to make an insurance policy, okay? And this will explain what an option is and how all this stuff works. Let me go up a little bit so you can see the bottom. Yay, here we are. Okay, so we're going to make an insurance contract together. So let's say I want to buy health insurance. And what I do is I call up State Farm or a health insurance company, right? And I tell them I want to buy health insurance. And so what they tell me is they say, okay, cool. We'll give you a 10-year policy, okay? So a health insurance contract is only for a certain amount of time. Okay, so we're going to make an insurance product here. So we've got an expiration date on the policy, which is 10 years. Then what they do is they look at my heart rate to see how good my heart is or bad it is. And if my heart rate doesn't go up and down very much, meaning it's not very volatile, then they make the price of the health insurance contract lower. Okay, so that's volatility. Then what they do is they tell me, hey, we'll give you this health policy, okay, in case you get sick, but we want to put a deductible in to make it cheaper for you. Okay, cool. Right, so they have a $100 deductible. And what that means when it comes to health plans is if I get sick, God forbid, and I go to the hospital, the first $100 I have to pay for it myself. Okay, so that's basically how it works. And so with a health insurance product, if my heart rate is really, really high, right, if it's really volatile, then of course the price of the insurance product, health insurance, is going to be high, right? If I have a high deductible as well, then what happens is the price goes down, and then there's an expiration date. Okay, with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to create an option. Okay, and an option is a call option first. It's very similar to a health insurance product. So when it comes to an option, what we do is we have the expiration date as well. And an option will allow us to put a little bit of money into an investment. And if the stock goes up a lot, we make several times that. Okay. But if the stock goes down, all we lose is whatever we put into it. So what we do is, first of all, we have the expiration date. So options have a finite life, right? So quite often you buy a 30-day policy for an option. Then what we do is if the stock goes up and down a lot, you're going to buy the option on. The option price is more expensive. Okay. Then we have, just like we have the $100 deductible price, we have something called a strike price. Okay, I got to figure this out so you guys can see this better. We have a strike price. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you two props, and then I'm actually going to walk you through, and we're going to do a real options trade together. Okay. So with options, what you can do is you can actually make money if the stock goes up. Okay. That's offensive, right? And that's buying a call. So all that health insurance stuff I explained was buying a call. Now, what you can also do with an option is you can buy a put, right, which is defensive. Hence the Canadian props. And Andrew, I know you're based in Toronto there, brother. I hope you're a Maple Leafs fan like I am. But it's defensive because you can make money if a stock goes down. And that's called a put. Okay, now with options, all you lose if you buy a put or a call, put you make money if the stock goes up, call you make money if the stock goes down. All you lose is the amount that you invested. Now, you also need to put in the stock price as well if you're going to price an option. And there's other things as well that I'm teaching in the course that I won't bring up today. So let's buy a call option right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to buy a call option on Coca-Cola. Now, when you buy an option, and I've got a bunch of things I got to show you here. I got this massive thing. And I'm using props because in the video I'm about to record, because I think it's fun and more engaging this way. But the bigger picture when it comes to options, the bigger picture is when you buy a stock, you get one share of a stock. Okay, so we're going to buy Coca-Cola options in a second together. Okay, you get one share of a stock. When you buy one option, that option contract acts like 100 shares of a stock. And yes, I did make 100 of these as well. Okay, great. So let me put this down. Now you understand leverage, because one option contract means you have the option of owning 100 shares. There's leverage. Let me show you how it works with a real example. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go together to a product that anybody can download, okay, called Think or Swim. And it allows you to trade options without money, meaning just a paper account. And it's made by this great company, Canadian, Toronto Dominion, called TD Ameritrade, Toronto Dominion Ameritrade. And if you can't download it in your country, you can get a VPN. Okay. And if it's going to get you in trouble doing that in whatever country you're in, then obviously don't do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a screen up top, and give me 1 second, see if I can even get this done. Hold on a second. All right, hold on a second. All right, I can't share a screen up top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up Think or Swim from scratch over here. So I will go here to Think or Swim, And you guys can download this. Just do a search on Think or Swim, and you can invest in options. Now, I highly recommend that nobody does options until you've practiced for at least 6 months, because you can lose your shirt. And I'm quitting Think or Swim on my other computer up here so I can open it down here in real time if I'm doing live demos. All right, so with Think or Swim, you can either do live trading or paper trading. So let's log in here. Chris Haroun, is that how you pronounce it? And my password, don't look at my password. All right, hold on one second. So I'm logging in. The market's live now, and we're going to place a trade. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy one Coca-Cola option. I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, cool. All right, so don't get intimidated by all this stuff you see right here, okay? It's just basically a bunch of formulas. And in my options course, I teach you all the formulas as well from scratch, and I make it easy to understand. Okay, they're called Greek formulas. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to type in here KO for Coca-Cola. Okay, so here we have Coke. And then what we can do is we can actually buy options on Coke if we wanted to. Now, what we see here is we see what's called an option chain. Okay, so Coca-Cola right now, and by the way, everything I do, you can also do it on Yahoo Finance, okay? And I don't want you to pay for any products ever. Think or Swim is free to use. Yahoo Finance is free to use. So if you type up any ticker, what you'll see is if the company has options, and this is Coca-Cola's ticker, you click here on options, okay? And then you've got here all the options you can invest in. Okay, so this here, and they're always, the way it works is most of the time options expire on Fridays. Okay, so here's a bunch of Fridays here, most of the time, but there are exceptions. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to bet some money right now that Coca-Cola, and I'm just making this up, I have no idea what the stock's going to do, but between now and about a month from now, meaning November 12th, I think Coca-Cola is at $55 now. I think Coca-Cola is going to be, it's going to go up a lot, way above $55. Okay, so I will buy a strike price call here on Coca-Cola. And what that means is if between now and the 12th of November, if Coca-Cola goes above $55, I make a lot of money. Okay, so I pay this much money for that right. And remember I showed you 100 hockey pucks? The way options work is with each options contract you buy, it's silly, but you have to multiply it by 100. So I can pay $8.10 right now to buy a Coca-Cola November 12th strike, 55 strike. And that means if by November 12th, when this expires, remember there's the element of time, by November 12th, if this expires and the stock of Coca-Cola is, say, $60, then I make several hundred times the money I invested. Worst case scenario, if it's below $55 by November 12th, I lose just this amount here, which is 81 cents times 100. Remember, options, they're always in lots of 100. Okay, so let's go back over here now. Let's actually place that trade. So what you can see here is when you type in the ticker Coke, you see all these dates listed here, kind of like what we just saw on Yahoo Finance. And so if I click here, what I can do is I can go to the 55 strike right here, okay? And right here, these are calls, meaning I make money if the stock goes up, or on this side, they're puts. I make money if the stock goes down. Let's just do a call. It's easier to explain. Okay, so let's go here to the 55 strike, okay, for Coke. And right now, if I want to buy it, the bid and the ask is 79 to 89. And you only want to buy options or any stocks where the difference between the bid and the ask is quite narrow, okay? Otherwise, you get a bad fill. So you right click here, and I'm going to buy an option. And what you can do is you can buy a single option, or you can buy something called an iron condor or a butterfly, which basically means 4 different options, and the profit chart looks like this. That's what an iron condor looks like. And I teach all this in my options course coming out soon. But we're going to buy a single option. Okay, here it is. All right, so what we see here is the option, a single option of Coca-Cola. It's one contract, which acts like 100 shares. hence 100 hockey bucks. It expires on November 12th. Okay, it's a strike price of 55, meaning if it goes above 55 bucks, I make money. And what I'm going to do, and you can select, and you can't see this under me, what exchange to trade it through, and to make it a market order or a limit order. I'll just do a market order. I'll keep it simple. So I click confirm and send. Now this is important. Before you ever buy an option, you need to understand the most you can make and the most you can lose. So this option, if I buy it, it looks like I'll get filled, and this is pretend money, at $83.50. Now remember in Yahoo Finance, we looked at the price of this option, and it was 81 cents, last price. So remember, you multiply it by 100 because you buy it in lots of 100. So that's $8.10, okay? Or pardon me, 81 cents times 100 is $81, sorry. Okay, but right here it's $83.50 because I'm not getting the best price. So it's going to cost me $83.50 to buy this, plus commission. And the most I can lose, right? The most I can lose is what I paid for the insurance policy, meaning what I paid for the option. Okay, it's right here. Max loss is 83 bucks, whatever. The max profit is infinite because if the stock goes up, and there's no limit on how much the stock can go up, you can make a fortune. You can make hundreds and hundreds of times your money with options if you do it right. Okay, great. So I'm going to click send. All right, let me turn the volume up here. There you go. It got filled. So now I own this call. Okay, and if I go here to monitor and account statements, I can actually see that I own this right now. So let me go here. Hold on a second. Let's go to options. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I just bought this one here. Okay, so this here is the November 12th 55 strike call for Coca-Cola. I paid 82 bucks for it. If Coke goes up, for every dollar Coke goes up, this goes up, this call between $0 and $1. Okay, and that's called, and the way to monitor that stuff is it's called a delta formula, which I teach in my in the course as well. And of course, if you're in my MBA program, I throw all this and much more in the program as well. And you'll get an email to let you know that I put it in there, and you'll get it for free, of course. All right, so that's how it works. Now, what I can do with this call is two things. If it goes up in price, what I can do is I can sell it and make money. Or what I can do is I can convert it into 100 shares. So if I wanted to sell it, what you do is you right click, and all software programs for options and trading are similar to this, okay? So I right click here and I go create closing order and I just sell it, okay? Or what I can do, I have the option, hence the name, I have the option of exercising. And what that means is I have the option of turning this into 100 shares at the strike price. So my strike price is 55 bucks. Coca-Cola is below the strike price. So it wouldn't make sense for me to buy 100 shares at 55 bucks. But you can do that if you want to. And you can exercise, meaning turn it into, buy 100 shares. You can exercise anytime between today and the expiration date of November 12th. But be careful. If the stock is above your strike price and you're making money on it and you don't sell it by November 12th when it expires, then you might, depending on what software program you use or brokerage firm you use to trade options, you might be forced to buy 100 shares, which is terrifying. So if I exercise it here, and this is just play money, it automatically sells that one option and buys 100 shares. You got to make sure you have the money in your account. So it's going to cost me over $5,000 to buy a Coca-Cola because Coke that's the strike price right there. This is pretend money. I'm going to click buy, and the order is put in, and now I own $5,500 worth of Coke. The option is now gone. It's now equities that I own right here. And a put is the opposite of that. And I'm happy to go into more details on that if you want me to. You guys are the customer. This is your call always. So let me know if you want me to go down that path and talk about options in more detail with other props and stuff as well. Yeah, which is fun. All right. Cool. Let me see what the next question is. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, that was one of the hockey pucks that fell. Manas wrote here, do you believe that shorts and shorter videos are the future of the online world? What are your thoughts? Yeah, less is more. I mean, there's a reason why TikTok is so successful. And I can't believe that Twitter bought Vine and did nothing with it, because that could have been TikTok. Absolutely. Our attention spans are getting more limited because our brains are wired differently because of the internet. It's not a bad thing. We can get access to information quickly. And a child in the middle of any continent with hardly any money has faster access to information and better access to information than Bill Clinton did in the 1990s with a cell phone. There's billions of these things out there. We're just wired differently. So I think less is more. I think the days of reading or writing a 10,000 words editorial in Vanity Fair, New York Times, whatever, are behind us. Less is more. Yeah. Okay. All right. And YouTube's trying to copy TikTok as well with those video shorts as well in portrait mode. Yeah. All right. Next up, Pearl wrote, thanks for the free downloads. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. All right. Next up, Gurpreet wrote, hey, Chris, hope all is well. Likewise. Will you be able to add real estate module to the MBA course? Yes, I'm adding a massive real estate portion to a course. It's going to be in the first half of next year. And I'm going to fly up to Canada as well, and I'm going to bring my film crew, and I'm going to show you a bunch of buildings I bought in Southern Ontario and just how real estate works from a commercial and personal real estate investment perspective. Yeah. Okay. And Manas wrote, my mentor, I'm a little overwhelmed with the thought of Clubhouse competitors. Do you think Clubhouse has plateaued before time? People are not that interested in it now. It sounds tough, but I feel so. Yeah, I'm not a big user or fan of Clubhouse. What usually happens is this, and when it comes to technology companies, the second they slowly start to become a little bit less relevant, it's game over. MySpace became a little bit less relevant, game over. It just happens. The same thing with BlackBerry. It started becoming a little bit less relevant, Research Motion. Palm, same thing, without operating system. WebOS, that HP owned for a while, game over. So the second a tech company starts becoming a little bit less relevant, it's a slippery slope, and it's most likely over, unless the founder comes back to the company to reinvent the company, etc. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Layla said, hey, Chris, I'm starting my e-commerce business soon. Do you have any tips for me? Yeah. So probably the most important thing I can tell you is to write a thorough business plan first. Okay. Because most people, when they start companies, they think about the qualitative aspects of a company, but they don't actually quantify it. They don't create the financial model. And in my MBA program, which you can check out at this link here, I walk you through a venture capital boot camp in the third semester based on my experience working in venture capital and starting companies, etc. And a big part of that is financial analysis. If you can't back up something with data, it's just an opinion, not a thesis. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, my mentor, it's good that you got rid of the news. It was quite inappropriate in terms of time. Like starting with news makes a webcast a news channel. But sure, you can put the news in between. Well, I don't know if I agree. So I took a poll, and it's 50-50. Half the students said yes, half the students said no. I'm going to bring it back, though, soon. Yeah. Because it's more fun, right? I want to use real-life stuff to teach business concepts. Yeah, but thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. All right. And give me, and I always appreciate your feedback, Mas. Give me 1 second, please. All right. Okay, give me a sec. Sometimes it YouTube jumps on me. I'm just going to do a search for your name, and I'll find where I was. Okay. 1 second. Thanks for your patience. Okay, here we go. All right, next up, Demian said, I'm sorry for the type mistake. I meant the prospectus of crypto ETF from the SEC. Yeah, and I think I answered the question, including the fix of the typo thing too. Yeah, thank you. Love your questions. All right. Next up, Andrew said, please discuss Regulation A+ for capital raise. I'm not familiar with that, actually. I'm sorry. I don't know much about that. If it's a legal issue, go to LegalZoom.com and talk to a lawyer there. It's cheap to talk to lawyers there as well. But I do believe that you should never invest ever in anything without first getting an investment offering memorandum, which is a legal document made by lawyers that will tell you all the risks for investing in something. Let me just clean up my desk. I'm going to get rid of this. Give me one sec, guys. Unless you guys want to talk about this. Put this down here. I crazy glued this on here as well, so hopefully it never falls off. Okay. A clean desk is a happy desk. That's what they used to tell me at Goldman Sachs years ago when I worked there. Okay, yeah, make sure you always get an investment offer memorandum. And if you ever have a buddy of yours that approaches you, what I'm about to say, I say it with love in my heart as always, because I care. But if a friend of yours approaches you and says, hey, do you want to invest in my company? I want you to ask yourself, well, first of all, ask for an investment offering memorandum, and then ask yourself, why am I so lucky to be given this opportunity? Yeah, just be careful. Yeah. I've lost friends when they've invested in my companies. I made friends a ton of money, but I have one in particular that lost money. Friends and money doesn't work. Yeah. All right, that was many years ago. All right, next up, Manas wrote, my mentor, when are you getting the Academy Award for Oscars? Thank you. I'm waiting for your victory speech. I want to watch that on YouTube over and over again. The HEV tribe leader getting Oscar. Thank you. I appreciate that. And what Manas is referring to is, 3 or 4 years ago when I started these webcasts, I said within 10 years, I want to get an Oscar, but it has to be for a business documentary that makes the world a better place. I'm looking into it. We almost did one this year with Netflix, actually, on cryptocurrencies. Just a documentary, but I'm too jammed with my students to do it for now. But at some point, thank you. Yeah. But I'll make all the mistakes, so you don't have to. Yeah. All right, next up, we got Mike. Mike wrote, hey, Chris, what was the name of the hacking book you're reading? Yeah. Alexa, what's my audiobook now?
Sorry, I don't have an answer
All right.
for that.
Alexa, read me my audiobook.
Getting your selection from Audible. Resuming This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends. There's 29 minutes left in the chapter and 15 hours.
Alexa, stop. Okay, the name of the book is...
Getting your selection from Audible.
Alexa, please stop. Yeah. So it's called This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends. Yeah. It's really good. It's amazing. Yeah. All right. All right, next up, Vipul said, what should I know before investing in the United States stock market? Yeah, there's a lot. So earlier on, I mentioned at the beginning of this webcast, that you can download a document that'll help you with investments. It's 8 steps on how to pick stocks. I recommend downloading that. Or if you want, you could sign up for one of my courses or my MBA program. Because what I do is I teach you, I have a million different tools or arrows in my quiver, so to speak, to teach my students, meaning frameworks in the MBA program. One of them is a 100-step process, and I give you a massive template to analyze qualitative, quantitative, and other financial stuff as well through 100 steps. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Anurag said, hey, Chris, good to see you. After 2 or 3 weeks, I could not join as I was occupied at work. Great to have you back, Anurag. Thank you. Okay, and Phil said, I love it. Thank you, Phil. Good to see you, man. All right, Rawlings, who's from Nigeria, one of my MBA students, said, hi, mentor, family. The HEV MBA degree is gold. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the additional content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and once the option stuff is added to the curriculum, it'll be an elective in class number 89. We're going to email everybody. Yeah, thanks. Okay. All right, next up, I got Amarnath, who wrote, I'd like to thank you for motivating me a lot with your courses. I'm almost 10% in your MBA program now. Done. Thank you, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And I've got some complaints from people in the MBA program recently that the percent that they've taken of the course is going down. And the reason it's going down is because I'm adding new stuff. That's why. But don't worry. All I do is I check the quizzes to score it, to give the grading and stuff. Yeah, thanks. Okay. And then Amarnath said, what's the website name again for biographies? Yeah. So it's just go to audible.com. It's owned by Amazon. And you can listen to any biography. And I listen to a ton of biographies from successful business people. And they always open up and share why they're successful and what their failures were. And if anybody here on this call works for a jerk at work, which has certainly happened to me before, not in all companies, but some, it's frustrating. I get it. But I want you to tell yourself 2 things. Number 1, I'm learning how not to manage people. And number 2, frustration is a good thing. I say it with love my heart, because what it does is if you work for a corporate bully, for example, and that's the vlog I'm most proud of, my 1000th vlog was about corporate bullies, that can motivate you to get a better job, right? Because with frustration always comes breakthrough. And you might not understand it now, and bullying is a terrible thing, obviously, but if anybody is frustrated at work right now, don't worry. Many years from now, you're going to look back and say that frustration led to a breakthrough. And without frustration, you can't reinvent yourself. It'll all make sense in the end. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Monostro, my mentor, one real question. Has your Columbia MBA helped you tremendously in comparison to your HEV MBA? I see a difference between heaven and hell. No, thank you. So I found that Columbia, when I went there, and I have a lot of friends there, and I'm grateful I went there because I have lifelong friends. I found that what they taught me was very theoretical. And when I graduated, and when my friends graduated from Harvard and other schools, whatever, we didn't know the most basic things in business. Like, we don't know how to start a company. Like, ask anybody with an MBA, do you know how to start a company now? They don't teach you a business plan the right way. They also don't teach you how to manage other people's money. They teach you how to they don't teach you how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. And so when I graduated with an MBA in finance from Columbia, I called my buddies. I was like, dude, I want to buy a place. Like, how does a mortgage work? And they're like, I don't know. We didn't learn that stuff. So we had to call our parents and ask them. They also don't teach you how to sell. That's important in business, right? They don't teach you how to network at all. They don't teach you how to interview. They don't teach you the most basic fundamental things you know to be successful. And if you want, do a search on why an MBA is a waste from Harvard MBA graduates, as well as from Stanford graduates, like Seth Godin, who graduated from Stanford Business School. You know, he started his own MBA type program like I have here as well. He said it's a waste of time, waste of money. You know, same thing with Scott Cook. He went to Harvard for his MBA. He started Intuit. You know, the company owns QuickBooks. Search for quotes from him. You know, same thing with Peter Thiel, with Mark Andreessen, with Elon Musk. Search for all of them in MBA quotes, and they'll tell you that it's all theoretical. Yeah, even to the extent that Mark Andreessen says, you know, for every MBA that you hire, deduct $250,000. Actually, Elon Musk said this one. For every MBA you hire, deduct $250,000 in market cap in your company. For every engineer you hire, add $250,000. Yeah. The bottom line is that it's just way too theoretical. It's way too expensive. And it's elitist as well, which is what I despise the most. A lot of people that get into these great schools, they go there because their parents went there. It's true. It's true. The system is rigged. And that's why I do what I do, because I humbly care. And I want to make education accessible and affordable to everybody. And the cost of my MBA program, you know, the silver version, is the same cost as 1 hour at a traditional MBA school, if you include all expenses. We've done the math, yeah. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's my life mission to help that way, and I want to die broke because all the profits I make go to building schools. Yeah. Okay. And we charge those students a lot of money in those schools. No, I'm just kidding. We don't. It's free. Okay, next up I've got Ali. Ali said, Chris, if a wealthy investor agrees to invest in my startup, but asks for 13% equity, does that mean he'll get 13% of the company for as long as the company exists? Can you set a time frame? Yeah, absolutely. So you want to get a lawyer involved first. So I'm going to pretend it's 10% because I want to list a couple of numbers. And I want to give a warning to everybody out there when it comes to valuation of your company. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'll invest in your company, I'm going to give you $1 million for 10% of your company. And you think to yourself, oh my God, that means the company is worth $10 million. I'm worth $9 million. Don't do it. Don't do it unless your company already has a lot of revenue. And the reason I say don't do it is because if you value your company that you just started at $10 million, you're never going to be able to raise money again. Because as you get new investors, what happens is the earlier investors get diluted. And so if you value a company at $10 million, if you don't have a cure for cancer, it's going to be hard for you to raise more money at a higher valuation of, say, $50 million. Because if you raise more money at a valuation of 50 million bucks and someone else invests, then what happens is the earlier investors get diluted. And they don't mind as long as the valuation is a gazillion times higher. But quite often your early investors will not let you raise more money because the only way you can raise money is at a lower valuation. And we do a big case study on this as well in my MBA program. Yeah. So the bottom line there is if you value your company, try to value it at like $1 or $2 million at maximum early on so that you can raise more money at a higher valuation. Yeah. And if that doesn't make sense, let me know and I'll walk through the math with you as well. And there's nothing wrong with dilution. If you own shares in a company and the company's value goes up a lot, like for example, Bill Gates, it's been decades that he's owned way less than 50% of Microsoft. He doesn't care because what happens, new shares are created. He gets diluted, he owns less than a percent of the company, but the stock's much higher. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Kumaresan said, "Sir, make a Telegram channel for subscribers." Okay, sure. I'll have my team look into it. Thank you. So the way I work is I believe in repurposing content, kind of like Nintendo does with video games. There are older games like Mario 64, whatever, the 8-bit, 16-bit. They take that same stuff and they put it on different platforms in the future, right? It's an efficient way to run a business. Similarly with me, this call you see gets repurposed as a podcast. It gets resyndicated as well through a bunch of tweets, as well as LinkedIn videos, etc. Yeah, and so if my team, Cassandra is working with, she's amazing, she's doing a great job. If she thinks it makes sense, then it's something we'll consider as well. Thanks. All right. Next up, Jitender. Hey, Jitender, how are you? Wrote, hey, Chris, how are you? I'm always great. Thank you. How do I select stocks for swing trading? And what do I analyze the market so careful with trading. But I will go through it. So whenever you invest, I recommend number one, look at fundamentals. Okay. Number two, look at valuation, and a distant third, look at technicals. I think the most important thing to look at is the relative strength index. And so quite simply, if the RSI, let me show you this live to you as well. So let's go here to Yahoo Finance, and you can pick any stock you want. Let's pick Tesla. A lot of people on that one. Okay. So the most important technical indicator, and yes, you all know I look at valuation fundamentals first, is we look at a couple of moving averages and the RSI. Okay, look at that. Amazing. And Elon backed up the truck and bought a ton of shares in March of 2020 when everyone was freaking out because he's unemotional and brilliant, and I love it. Okay, so down here I've got the RSI. Okay, so if the RSI gets down close to this red line, which is tough to see, 20, then buy. If it goes way above, sell. Obviously, it works on short-term trades sometimes, but not all the time. So above 80, sell. At 20, buy, right? You all know I'm a long-term investor, so it's the last thing I look at. But I do look at technicals in terms of when to get into a position. I love to buy stocks that are broken. I buy broken stocks, but not broken companies, meaning I like to buy stocks when it feels like you're catching a knife. It's scary because no one else is buying them. And usually the RSI is close to 20 at that point. What you can also look at is you can actually look at the 50 and 200-day moving average. Okay, so you can add these moving averages. So the 50-day we'll do here is purple. Okay, so basically the way it works, and it's easier to look at the chart if it's less than a year. Yeah. So what happens is this: a lot of investors, technical investors, traders, they love to look at moving averages. And if it doesn't break a moving average, then they keep investing. I know it sounds silly, but it's self-fulfilling. So here we can see a beautiful channel formation on this stock here. Okay, so it's never violated the 50-day moving average, or at least it hasn't since last year, right? So if it comes down here, tests and bounce, people get excited, they keep investing. I know it's silly. People also look at something called the 200-day moving average as well. They've had a lot of new stuff here too. Wow. All right, so 200-day moving average. 50-day moving average, people look at a little bit more closely, right? 200-day moving average down here. And if you see the 50-day moving average cross down through the 200-day moving average, it's called a death cross, and people freak out. The bottom line, though, is look at the RSI, like I mentioned, after you look at fundamentals and valuation, of course. And then also you can look at the moving average as well. And there's other things too, like ascending triangle. I can go into more detail on that if you want to, but make sure you look at fundamentals first, valuation second, and technicals a distant third. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question is, thank you, Chris, for being an amazing teacher. I appreciate it. Thank you for the emojis. All right, next up, John wrote, hey, y'all. Chris, Texas greetings. How are you, man? Don't mess with Texas. I love Texas. Please bring us your tax code here to the left coast and some other things, too. Yeah. And it's no surprise that Elon Musk picked up and took Tesla there. Yeah. Yeah. So I have thought about leaving here. I do love the people here. I love the fact that there's a lot of tech companies, and I have friends that are CEOs, whatever, in the business. It's great from a networking perspective. But I've thought about moving to Florida, man. Tony Robbins moved. He used to be in San Diego, California, and now he's in Florida because the taxes are ridiculous here. Yeah. All right. Next up, John wrote, hey, y'all, Chris, Texas greetings. What is a crypto yield farming? I've seen this topic lately on the algorithm. Yeah, I actually don't know what yield farming means. I don't know. Let me ask one of my great students here if he's still on the call. Peyton Kalawahea, who owns GameReport.io and is an expert in all new things crypto and NFTs and blockchains. Peyton, if you want to answer that, go for it, please. Okay, Manas said, my mentor, you nailed it about an options explanation. You killed it. Thank you. I'm never going to forget that ever. Keenly waiting for the options course. Thank you for everything. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. That was fun too, playing with Legos. And I love to teach things one brick at a time, right? Like it's really complicated learning options and a lot of finance stuff. So I like to make it fun and engaging. Now, when I went to Columbia for my MBA in finance 8 million years ago, I got the top grade in my class, humbly, in options. And it was so theoretical, I never really got it. And I used it in the hedge fund industry a lot, the stuff, but I had to reteach myself. But anyway, yeah. But I'm going to make this course a lot of fun. It's going to be the longest course I've ever done with a ton of props as well. You'll love it, or your money back. All right, Marwan wrote, hey, Chris, thank you for doing this. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. I have one question considering the exit plan in investing in any company. Okay, give me one second, guys. Sorry. YouTube has this problem when a bunch of questions come, it jumps sometimes. So I always search for the last word, exit plan. Okay, I have one question considering the exit plan in investing in any company. How can we know that this was a bad investment idea and should we get rid of it? Yeah, great question, great question. So I provide my students with a ton of templates. And one of the templates I have is a template for writing up your investment report for a stock, right? In my MBA program, I have a 1-page template, and in my MBA program, I have a 150-page template as well to do thorough research. And what I recommend you do is you at least write a 1-page write-up on a stock before you buy it, okay? And then what happens is, let's say a year or two from now, you own the stock, and you're freaking out because it's going down a lot. And there's a new development, news item that scares you. If that happens, I want you to go back and look at that 1-page template or your report. And I want you to read it and think to yourself, 2 years ago when I made this 1-page write-up, if I had known about that news item, that risk that was just released in the stock make it go down, if I had known about that when I made this report, would I still have bought the stock? If the answer is yes, buy more. If the answer is no, be unemotional and sell it. The same thing when it comes to starting a company. Give it 2 years. Always give it 2 years. Okay. Write the business plan thoroughly first. And I walk you through how to do that in my venture capital boot camp in the 3rd semester of my MBA program. Write the thorough business plan. And then 2 years later, have a sanity check, or kind of like the Senate, which is a sober second look from a legal perspective. So take a look at it 2 years later and think to yourself, okay, I've been running this company now for 2 years. 2 years ago when I wrote this business plan, if I had known about all the challenges that I uncovered in the past 2 years, would I still have started this company? If the answer is no, be unemotional, pull the ripcord, move on. Yeah. All right. Next up, Mike wrote, just my opinion, but I love the newscast. Great stuff. Thank you. Yeah. I'll bring it back soon. I promise you. Yeah. It takes a lot of time too. Like when I do the newscast, or when I have done the newscast this year, which I'll do again soon, it takes me an entire day, right? In terms of scripting it, the graphics, research, etc. But I love it because I'm pushing the goalpost, challenging myself. Yeah. All right, next up, I've got Manas, who wrote, my mentor. Chris, please. Apple would have died long ago if Steve Jobs wouldn't return to the company. If Jobs wouldn't have returned, then probably you'd be using a Samsung Galaxy right now. Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably be using either a Nokia candy bar device, some sort of a cool Motorola flip phone, or I'd probably be using a BlackBerry device. I'd be using BlackBerry. Yeah, because I'm Canadian. Represent. Yeah. Okay. And Mike said my vote is to start the weekly with the news lessons. Okay, I'll do it. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Viro Roxod, and if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, let me know. But Viroxrod1 wrote, "Hi Chris, I'm a huge fan of your work. You're a blessing. I'd love to see the news again, please. Thank you. I'll bring it back soon. I promise you. Thank you." Okay. Next up, Usuf wrote, how do you decide where to invest? Yeah. So it's a very long process, right? And I don't recommend ever relying on anybody's advice, especially mine or anybody, when it comes to what to buy. In my MBA program, I provide you with a ton of tools across all aspects of business, so that your chances of success go up materially. And one of the tools I provide you with is a 100-step process, a massive template I created for you that will help you decide what to invest in. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Arjun wrote, hey Chris, hope you're doing well. Likewise. How is a dividend paid from a subsidiary to the parent company? Does the parent company take a premium on the dividend company to other shareholders? Yeah, it all depends. So if you have an umbrella company, one company that owns pieces of a bunch of others, then what happens is if you own a piece of a company, it's like you're a shareholder. So you get a dividend like everybody else does. Yeah. Okay. But I don't think it would be a premium dividend unless they own preferred shares, right? And usually when we all buy stocks in the stock market, it's common shares, which is the lowest of the low, right? Preferred shares get preferential treatment. If the company goes bankrupt, they get money back first. They get the money back second. The first person to get their money back are the debt holders that have a senior claim. So when a company goes belly up, the debt holders get the money back first, then the preferred shareholders, and then the lowest of the low, way down here with my awful hair, are the common shareholders. Yeah. All right, give me a second here. All right, next question I've got here is from Arjun, who wrote, how are board of directors of a publicly company selected? How do some activist funds get board seats with ownership as low as 1%? Great question. So what happens is with publicly traded companies, the board of directors are quite often CEOs from other companies that have a lot of experience that can help the company grow. Okay, and I always think of myself whenever I join a board as a prosthetic extension of the management team. And my goal, and I'm very competitive when it comes to helping my students or helping companies I'm on the boards of, my goal is always to get that first call from the CEO when she or he has a problem. Okay, so boards select people based on the value they can add and their network as well. Yeah, and that's why a lot of politicians join boards, like Condoleezza Rice. After she retired as a politician in the Bush administration, she was on the board of a clean tech company that I invested in years ago because she had a lot of connections. So you have to bring some sort of value. It's either industry knowledge or connections or both. Yeah. Now, in terms of activist investors, so what happens is this. The way the public markets work, and most markets in general, when somebody invests a lot of money with you or in a company, a ton, what happens is quite often that money is in their fund, meaning it's for other people investing in them. And they have a fiduciary duty or a fiscal responsibility to report back to their investors how that investment is doing. And so when it comes to activist investors, and I'll talk about a real case study here, there's this guy named Carl Icahn. And what Carl Icahn does, he runs a private equity firm, and he's an activist investor. A private equity firm is like a hedge fund where you take a 2% fee annually on the money you manage, and then you get 20% of the profits that you manage. And so what Carl Icahn did with his activist private equity hedge fund is he noticed years ago that eBay was really, really undervalued, right? And I was a massive investor in eBay as well. In fact, if you download that 8-step template I mentioned earlier on the webcast, I give you a one-pager on my eBay write-up where I look at the fundamentals and the valuation of the company. So what he did was he bought a ton of stock in eBay. And when you buy a lot of stock in a company, a ton, you can join the board, okay? It all depends. And he bought a ton of shares in eBay. And in the board meeting, what he did was he said, look, you've got this amazing asset called PayPal that you own, right? PayPal used to be part of eBay. And then you've got this sleepy asset that throws off a lot of cash, which is the eBay marketplace business, auctions. Value investors love this aspect of your business, right? The marketplace, because it throws off a lot of cash. And in recessions, people sell more stuff. But growth investors love this aspect of your business, PayPal, which is growing fast. Now, growth investors are not buying your stock because they don't want to get access to this value crap here. And value investors are not buying your stock because they don't want to get access to this growth asset here called PayPal. So wouldn't it make more sense if you break up the company in two and the value of PayPal and eBay marketplace, meaning the auction business, together added up will be higher than it is independently now? And so he muscled his way into the board, and he actually got other board members to agree with him to fire a bunch of the executives. And what happened was he got his wish because, he owned a lot of the company, and eBay broke into two pieces, and shareholders were happy. Yeah. So that's what an activist investor does. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Haroun wrote, okay, the MBA is a waste of time, but what about financial mathematics or actual science or financial engineering? Yeah. So I would say that, no, I'm a big fan of anything engineering based. Anything engineering based. Yeah. And you can certainly take a lot of online courses as well. Look, I think that in by the time I move on, I leave this wonderful planet, hopefully many years from now, I think only 50 universities are going to be in existence. Because people are going to say to themselves, well, I'm not going to go to university unless I get into Oxford or Harvard or whatever. I think a lot of the stuff you're going to learn online. And I think that undergraduate education is going to be 2 years instead of 4 years. And it'll be supplemented with online. I really do. It doesn't make sense to spend $100,000. I'm going through it now with my kids. It doesn't make sense to spend it's their choice if they want to go. It doesn't make sense to spend $100,000 on a 4-year undergraduate education where you don't learn anything you can apply in the real world, and you have 13 hours of class a week. Half of them you end up missing, whatever, like I did. But I do think that it makes sense to move out and do some sort of school away from home so you can kind of mature as a person and learn how to talk to people and socialize and stuff. But 4 years is kind of nutty. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Arjun wrote, how do you share an idea with someone without it getting stolen? Yeah, it's a great question. So a couple of things. You can create what's called an NDA, okay, a non-disclosure agreement. And you can get a law firm to create it for you or go to LegalZoom.com and get them to create it for $30 or whatever it is. If you don't have LegalZoom in your country, just do a search on what is the LegalZoom equivalent in my country on Google. Yeah, search on Google or Bing if you work at Microsoft. But what you can do is you can have an NDA created. Now, be really, really careful with this, please. Because what happens is if you go to meet with an investor for the first time and you tell them to sign an NDA, they're going to be like, who are you? Yeah, don't do it. Do it after they're really interested and about to invest. And you don't have to give away the secret sauce. Just because you're drinking a bottle of Coca-Cola, which I have here. And by the way, I'm doing a case study on Coke as well, my options course. And I even had this custom-made options. But just because you're drinking Coca-Cola doesn't mean you know the secret. And so when you meet with them, the investors, what you do is you can basically tell them from a high-level perspective what your company does. without telling them how you do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I love Coke. We call this Mexican Coke here. I love it because it's in Mexico, Coke is better because they make it with real sugar versus cornstarch here in America. Yeah. A lot of props for my upcoming course. It's going to be fun. And that way I was able to write off my trip to Atlanta because I went to the Coca-Cola headquarters. Just kidding. Okay. All right. Next up, John wrote. Hey, John. John wrote, since I've been searching more businesses-related videos, I've been getting more financial guru ads and automated marketing, do-it-for-you programs, etc. What are your thoughts? Are they scammers? Yeah. So what you can do is just do a search on whatever the name of the person is or the program or the product and the word scam. And go to Reddit as well. I love Reddit. Reddit's about to go public. It's going to be a $10 billion IPO. The founder actually used to live around the corner from me. He's married to Serena Williams. They're about to do a big IPO. I love Reddit because it's kind of like Quora. You get upvoted, as many of you know because you go there a lot, upvoted if the answer is helpful. Yeah, I get a lot of my advice from Reddit. Yeah. All right. But if something seems too good to be true, you got to just go with your gut. A lot of times it's bogus. Yeah. Make sure there's a money-back policy. Like with all my stuff, there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Yeah. Because a company is only as good as its customer service. Yeah. Okay. Harsh wrote, Chris from To Learn Coding. Yeah. I am going to be teaching, actually. Yeah, that's the next step. I'm going to be doing more business intelligence, business analysis, artificial intelligence, and programming classes. Yeah. Because I used to be a programmer years ago. I did a lot of object-oriented stuff, Java, C++, COBOL. I am that old. But I'm going to start teaching that stuff new because I think I have a better way to teach it. A fun way with a lot of building blocks and all that stuff. Yeah, so. But that's coming. All right, next up, Kunal wrote, hey, Chris, good morning. Good morning to you, too. You wrote, hope you're doing well. Likewise, Kunal. Thank you for joining us. Okay, next up, Sadiq said, hey, Chris, good morning. Thank you for your time. How are you? I'm always great. Thank you, especially when I'm here. David Yerman, how are you? So David Yerman said, Chris, I'm all in on you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. I've never learned so much from any other source. Thank you a million times. Go Red Sox. Go Tom Brady, Buccaneers. Go Chris Haroun. Keep inspiring us. Sorry about the Blue Jays. I know, brother. Thank you for that. It broke my heart, man. It broke my heart. The Blue Jays, we had a great year. We didn't play that many. We only played at home in Toronto for like a quarter of the season. And all of last year, like Blue Jays weren't allowed in Canada because they, COVID, whatever. But anyway, this is a Montreal Expos player. This is Andre Dawson. He was MVP in 1987 when he played for the Cubs, and I got his autograph here too. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah, breaks my heart. But go Red Sox Nation! Thank you for kicking Tampa Bay's butt too. That was good. You guys did that. Yeah. That walk off was dope. Thank you for your comments. Okay, and David wrote here, good lesson on the options. Thank you. I'm gonna make that my bread and butter. I said before, I'm so hungry for the full options lesson. I nominate you for a Nobel Prize in edutainment. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. It's taken me a bit longer than expected, to be honest. But I've never, it's ridiculous the number of props I have. Like, for example, I teach in one of the lessons, we buy Coca-Cola. And I went to Atlanta to buy this at the Coca-Cola Museum. And I teach you how, if you own a stock, this is a stock, and you want protection, you can buy a put, right? So it's a little jacket. Yeah, anyway, I'm having fun with it. Yeah, I even bought, I don't know where I'll use this, but do you guys remember those old Coca-Cola commercials? Coca-Cola is great for case studies too, from a marketing perspective. Remember this? Remember the old days, these commercials? Where the polar bear would drink the Coke around Christmas and go, it's fun just being me. Nutty professor, I know. It's okay. All right. Next up, Sadiq wrote, what are the alternatives to hedging a short position in a put? Yeah. So it would take me a long time to answer that. But what you can do is you can sign up for my complete options course coming out soon. And what I'll teach you to do is I'll teach you how to create vertical spreads, how to go long iron condors, butterflies, etc., much more. So basically the way it works is you can go buy here, okay? You can set up a straddle, butterfly, condor, etc. See right here? And this way you're somewhat hedged. And so you'll find out your maximum profit, maximum loss, okay? And I really believe that when it comes to options, and investing in general, the people that do the best, especially with options, are the ones that don't try to hit home runs, right? Don't swing for the fences, you'll strike out more. You got to hit singles, that's a bunt. You got to hit singles and doubles, so to speak. And the way to think about it too is, I'm teaching it, like I teach something called Monte Carlo simulation in this options course coming up, as well as Black-Scholes and binary or binomial valuation, which will make more sense after you take the course if you want. But I teach you how casinos make money. So one-arm bandit. And the way casinos make money is they embrace statistics and mathematics. It's fascinating. And yes, I'm teaching stats from scratch in a fun way in this course. Normal distribution, etc., probabilities. But what happens is casinos have it set up so that usually you can't bet more than a little bit of money, right? And they have some high roller tables, but they don't make money from that. You can only bet a little bit amount of money, so that from a risk management perspective, nobody will win a fortune and make the casino go belly up. And these machines are set up so that they win 51% of the time. The same thing with roulette. It's fascinating. I've studied statistics of it. In roulette, remember that, which is that big wheel with a bunch of black and red little slots you throw a ball in? Well, there's an equal number of black and red slots, right? So it's 50-50. But there's like one or two little green slots, which basically makes it 51% or so the casino is going to win. So casinos make a fortune, just like options writers do, okay, and option short sellers, which I'll teach you, which was kind of part of that that vertical spread I just showed you. In Iron Condor, you can go long and short those things. I'll teach you all that from scratch. They make a little bit of money, but they're perfectly hedged, and I'll teach you that from scratch. I don't want any of my students trading any options unless they practice for 6 months first. And in my complete options course coming out soon, I'm going to provide you with all the tools you need, including 35 different option strategy, including iron condors and using 1, 2, 3, and 4 in combinations of 1, 2, or 3, or 4 calls and puts that are short or long, as well as stocks along with that. All right. And Kumaresan wrote, Sir, where do you complain the officers, especially Vow and Ree, for bribing, because when I go ask his or her approval for some documents, like first certificates, we need to pay him or her 300 rupees. Yeah, that sounds like something India specific that I'm not familiar with. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. If you're talking about some sort of officer in a company and getting documentation, if it's pretty simple. If you don't get an investment offering memorandum, don't invest. If you're asking about something else, please let me know because I want to humbly answer the question if I can. All right, next up, Majed wrote, Chris, I have a background in engineering as well as an MBA in finance, and I'm a CFA level 2 candidate. I'm still having trouble finding an internship. What should I do if I'm in this situation? Yeah, sign up for my MBA program. We have a lot of people, and you can binge watch it within 30 days and get your money back. I don't care. But we have a lot of people from top MBA programs that have joined, and they tell me universally, all of them say, within the first 30 days, they learn more than they did in their entire MBA program. And in the first semester, I teach you in the personal growth track, networking on steroids. Okay. It works. I promise you it does, or your money back. Yeah. Okay. Next up, and the great thing is about the MBA program is you can take it on your own terms. You got access to it forever. I add a lot of new stuff. I promise you'll learn more from my program than your MBA or your money back. Okay. And you can watch it whenever you want and graduate whenever you want, if you even want to. Yeah. It's a one-stop shop for everything you need. Yeah. Good for you for doing the CFA though. I think that's much more credible than an MBA from a traditional school. Yeah. And level 2 is the hardest one of the 3. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of option stuff in level 2 as well. So just think of the props I just showed you as well. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Next up, don't you want to send out a newsletter with your market analysis? People would love it. Yeah, I never want to do that. And the reason is because with my students, nobody is smarter than you. And that's why I licensed that video from the Silicon Valley Historical Association, the Steve Jobs video. Right, I licensed it, and I had all my webcasts with it, my weekly webcasts with it. No one's smarter than you. You know, I humbly want to teach you how to fish instead of providing you with a fish. And if you do your own investment research and your own market analysis, then you're going to have a lot of conviction and not panic at the worst time when it comes to selling a stock. Yeah. And for me, I don't want to, I could go back to Wall Street, and I do get a lot of calls. Hey, are you finished teaching, Chris? You want to come back to a hedge fund or venture capital? No. For me, it's, I just want to help. I want to do my part. Yeah. All right. Gohar wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hey, man. Hope you're doing great and enjoying good health. Thank you. Likewise. How do you see Jim Quick? Do you think that Jim what he teaches should be taught in school?" I don't know anything about Jim. Sorry. I don't even know who he is. Sorry about that. Yeah. All right. Next up, Anurag said, "Dear Chris, what are some remote jobs or freelance opportunities in finance and a roadmap of getting those jobs?" Yeah. So there's a lot of firms that actually outsource financial analysis and financial modeling. And so we used a firm years ago called Cognizant. The ticker was CTSH. I think they got acquired by SAP or something. I can't remember. Yeah. But there's a lot of companies you can outsource financial analysis to. So I would look at that. Do a search on Cognizant. See if you can get a job there. Yeah. Or what you can do is you can go to upwork.com or fiverr.com. That's FIVERR.com. You might be able to find some financial analysis gigs there as well. Yeah. And I've outsourced a lot of my financial models as well over the years, right? Just the simplistic updating models thing to people overseas. Those gigs are out there. Yeah. All right. Next up, Sadiq wrote, "Since you mentioned Coke stock and buying puts for protection from a speculator's perspective, if we go long an options, a call or a put, then there is a low probability of gaining. What are your stocks? Or what are your thoughts?" Yeah. No, it all depends on the mathematics behind it. And so in the MBA program, in the options course, I teach you statistics and probabilities of something being in the money or out of the money or at the money. And we look at a lot of normal distribution graphs as well, which means, one standard deviation move away from the stock price now based on the volatility means there's a 68% probability the stock is within a certain range. Okay. 2 standard deviations is 95%, 3 is 99.7%. Yeah. So I show you probabilities as well, and we slice and dice and analyze that a lot. Yeah. And most people who make money in options are the option writers, meaning the ones that go short or sell them. Okay. So option writer and short is the same thing. Yeah. Very dangerous though, because you can lose your shirt unless you're hedged on both sides. And I teach you all that in the program. Yeah. Okay. And then Sadiq said, "Thanks for the explanation on options. I've been waiting for the options course. Thanks. It's coming soon, I promise you." All right, cool. Next question is from Milan, who wrote, "Chris, what's your opinion on NFTs? Is it a bubble or a legitimate investment?" Yeah, I think it's legitimate, but like any other gold rush, so to speak, there's a lot of crap out there. Even like human nature hasn't changed when it comes to new investment opportunities. Back in the 1600s in Europe, there was this tulip bulb mania where people bid up the prices of tulip bulbs thousands and thousands of percent. And of course, the bubble burst, just like it did in March of 2000 with the NASDAQ, just like it did in 2008 with the real estate crisis, and et cetera, and just like it does in all markets, right? Eventually, bubbles burst. So I think there's a massive bubble right now in NFTs and cryptos too, actually. I think most cryptos are a scam, but I think a handful of them I love and will be viable longer term. The same thing with NFTs. I think a bunch of them are just froth, right? Just overvalued. But there's a bunch that will do extraordinarily well, right? And I think the best way to play NFTs is sports cards. Yeah. And I've done a lot of research on it. And if you're curious about NFTs and the sports card market, or just NFTs in general, you can always go to my website. Okay, and at the top, what you do on my website is you do a search on NFT or whatever topic it is. I've covered it, right? And so I talked a lot about NFTs, how to make them, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, and here is Peyton. He's one of my MBA students. He's great, and we did an entire interview with him about NFTs, and he runs circles around me when it comes to NFTs and everything. Yeah, so he's great. So check him out. Go to gamereport.io to learn more about Peyton Kalohea. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, cool. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I guess we could probably wrap up the call early today. So I want to thank you all for your time. The options course is coming out soon. Please check out my MBA program at this link here. God bless y'all. Have a great weekend. I vlog every single day, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please click like as well. That'll help us a lot. And here's another question. Sadiq wrote, I got it. I should have better formulated the question. That's what I meant. The options writer gains because for an option holder to gain, has to have high volatility on underlying necessary. Yeah, and what I'll say about volatility in general, there's something called historical volatility and implied volatility. I find that implied volatility is often too high. And I think you can make a lot of money by knowing that longer term when you write options. Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. All right. And then Manas wrote, thanks for everything. God bless you and your family forever. God bless you way, way more, brother. I love you. It's always great to have you on the call, and I love all your questions and comments, everything. Cool. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Again, my options course is coming out soon. Check out my MBA program. If you're in the gold and platinum program, we have office hours starting at 11:20 today, and we also have a bunch of one-on-one meetings with my platinum members. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you next week, Manas and everybody, and thank you, and God bless as always. As with all of my my weekly calls, I end with this video I licensed, which is inspiring, about Steve Jobs. I licensed it from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. Take care, guys. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.